Enigma renderings, where stories whisper through shadows.
Greetings, listeners of the unseen, and welcome back to Enigma renderings, where stories whisper through shadows. For those learning English, let this be your companion, where language immerses you through sound, tension, and silence. You're listening to Enigma renderings, your home for cinematic storytelling in English. Our journey began with a single idea: to breathe new life into timeless tales. Stories that once lived in Bengal, Tamil, Hindi, and many other tongues, carried into English with voice, emotion, and atmosphere. Stories are not bound to language. They travel, they transform, yet their soul remains. Tonight, once again, we return to Bengal, to something closer, quieter, and far more unsettling. Not to distant worlds or cosmic horrors, but to narrow streets, aging houses, and silent rooms where night refuses to sleep. Tonight, we step into the imagination of Bibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay, one of Bengal's most profound literary voices, who understood that fear does not always arrive as a scream. Sometimes, it arrives as sorrow. This is a story of possession, not by demons or curses, but by unfulfilled longing, of a bed that should offer rest, but instead remembers grief, of a soul that never found peace and refuses to let others sleep. Tonight's tale is The Haunted Bed, a haunting narrative where memory clings to wood and silence, where tears leave no trace, yet soak everything. This is not a story of sudden terror, but of something far more disturbing. A presence that mourns again and again, long after death. So, dim the lights, slow your thoughts, let the world outside fade. Sit back, wear your headphones, and listen carefully to Bibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay's haunting tale, The Haunted Bed.
After a long time, I met Satish again. The poor fellow was pushing through the crowd, hurrying along the left footpath of Benting Street, heading north in the late afternoon. All the offices had just closed. It was winter. The road lay covered in half darkness, half light. Exhausted, I was making my way forward slowly, like a bullock cart with worn wheels. Suddenly, spotting Satish, I grabbed his coat and shouted, "Satish! Hey! Satish!"
Kagan! My God, I was looking for you!
That shows how hard you were looking. You nearly knocked me over and walked off. Good thing I called out.
Sorry, I'm in a bit of a special hurry.
That much I can see. So, where are you off to?
You have to come with me. It's not very far. I'll explain on the way.
That's strange.
If you say no, I won't listen. I'll drag you along if I have to.
I have known Satish since childhood. He does exactly what he says. And since he has some physical strength, he rarely hesitates to use it when it serves his purpose. Left with no choice, I went along with him. His destination was very close, and he explained his purpose quite briefly. That morning, In the advertisements column of the newspaper, there had been an announcement. A highly modern and mysterious Chinese bed is offered for sale to the highest bidder. There is nothing like it in the world. Miss this opportunity and regret will be inevitable. 2/3 Street. Satish pulled the advertisement from his pocket and said,
Read it.
I understand. But what exactly does the word mysterious mean?
That's exactly what's been troubling me. I can't get any clear information.
Satish walked on, scanning the street names. Suddenly, he leapt up.
Found it! This alley!
In the dim evening light, as I looked down that alley, a strange shiver ran through my entire body. I don't know why. A mysterious bed in the Chinese Quarter, steeped in a Chinese atmosphere. Grabbing Satish's hand, I said, Satish, I don't need a bed. Let's go back. Let my Bengali bed live on.
You coward! After coming this far, there's no turning back.
At the corner of the alley, on the right, a neem tree stood with its head raised high, like a ghost. From the dustbin nearby drifted the foul stench of all kinds of rotten refuse. The rice from my first feeding ceremony seemed about to surge back up in unbearable agony. Pressing a handkerchief to my nose, I somehow kept moving forward. A sudden gust of wind, confused and violent, swept in from the south and slammed into our bodies. Above our heads, several bats flew past, their wings beating noisily. 2 ownerless dogs stared at these trespassers and began complaining in ugly voices. There was no sign of human life left on the road. Beside us stood the ancient signboard of a Chinese doctor, the painted human skeleton on it almost worn away. From somewhere, the faint, indistinct notes of a piano drifted through the air. Soon, we reached our destined house. I have never seen a house like it in my life. Bricks exposed, nearly crippled, it stood, baring its teeth, bearing witness to great antiquity. Perhaps its foundation had been laid in the time of Nawab Alivardi Khan. We entered very carefully through the broken gate. Inside the house, I was astonished. Where had so many people come from? In the silent, deserted alley we had just left behind, we hadn't even seen a shadow of anyone. Was this some ghostly affair? Curiosity was written on every face. People of many kinds were gathered there. So many people, yet not a single word from anyone. Even if a needle fell, its sound would have been heard. About an hour later, an elderly, heavy-set Chinese man led us onward. There wasn't a single white hair on his head. The 2 front teeth in his mouth were bound in gold, and on the tattoo of his left arm was the image of a butcher's cleaver. With gestures, he guided us through many rooms, and finally into the chamber of the bed. The house was like an impregnable fortress, a labyrinth on all sides.
Yes, indeed, a bed! I've never seen another like it in my life. I have seen many beds, but such a wondrous Chinese bed. I saw it then for the first time. Its sculpture was exquisite, its craftsmanship extraordinary. On one side sat the serene, meditative image of Lord Buddha. In size, the bed was not very large. 2 people could lie on it quite comfortably. And yet, astonishingly, the same bed could be extended to make space for 10 people. I was stunned.
Bargaining began among everyone present. All eyes were drawn to that simple wooden bed. Such eagerness to buy it. The price rose rapidly. At last, the bed fell to Satish for 1,500 rupees. It was almost 10 o'clock by the time Satish returned home with the bed. Whoever saw it said, "Magnificent." From there, after eating, I went home. Satish said,
Come again. The invitation stands.
"So be it." And I left. Before I could go to him again, Satish arrived at my place early the next morning. His hair was disheveled, his face dry, his eyes red like hibiscus flowers. Perhaps from anxiety and worry, he hadn't slept all night. "What's the matter?"
Trouble. Terrible trouble.
His voice barely came out. "What kind of trouble?"
That bed.
I had known from the start that something would happen. Does anyone ever dig a canal and bring home a crocodile? After all, it was a mysterious bed. He described the previous night's events in full detail. He hadn't slept at all. He had been lying on that bed. Suddenly, at midnight, he felt as if someone was shaking it. He got up, switched on the light, and saw... No, the bed was perfectly still. He lay down again, and shortly after, his sleep broke once more. Some dreadful noise made the entire room feel oppressive. It was as if the bed were violently banging against the wall. Startled, he jumped up and turned on the light. No. Everything was silent and motionless. There wasn't the faintest sound anywhere. He lay down again. This time, he did not turn the light off. At the edge of dawn, his senses returned at the sound of an incomprehensible wail. Someone seemed to be sitting beside the bed, crying themselves to death in a broken, pleading voice. I told you right at the start, there's no sense in buying that bed. But your stubbornness. Now, do you understand?
Look, Kagan, I may not be able to explain it properly, but that wretched bed has such a hold over me. What can I say? I simply cannot part with it.
Then die with that bed.
I need your help.
My help?
Yes. Tonight, you'll come to our place for dinner. We'll stay awake all night and keep watch over the bed. Let's see where the fault lies.
And my office?
Idiot! It's Sunday tomorrow.
With no alternative, to help my friend, I arrived at their house in the evening. Satish had been watching the road, waiting for me. He shouted joyfully, "Welcome! Welcome!" So, nothing else strange happened?
No. There's no reason for trouble during the daytime.
Satish's mother said,
Look here, Kagan, I've been telling him again and again. Go, sell that bed. But does he listen to me?
What are you saying, Ma? Should I sell a 1,500 rupee bed just because I'm scared?
After dinner, equipped for a night-long vigil, the two of us friends went and sat in the room with the bed. In my hand was a detective novel, and in Satish's hand, health and hygiene. The night deepened gradually.
It was decided that Satish would sleep first, while I stayed awake. Then Satish would wake, and I would sleep. I opened the book and sat there. I couldn't read a single letter. I stared fixedly ahead, ears straining in every direction, sitting in dread. At the smallest sound, I jolted again and again, thinking any moment that accursed being would seize my throat and strangle me. At another household, the clock struck 2 melodiously. Suddenly, it felt as though someone were pacing on the outer veranda. The sound of footsteps became distinctly clear. My entire body shuddered. The hair on my skin stood on end. Suddenly, with a loud sound, the open window slammed shut. In that instant, it felt as though I had been lifted into the void. My consciousness left me. Whether I was dead or alive became a matter of grave doubt. In terror, I cried out, "Satish! Satish!" Satish jolted awake and sat up on the bed in a flash.
What's the matter? What's the matter?
In fear and astonishment, no words came out of my mouth. Satish shook me by both shoulders and called,
Khagan! Khagan!
Wiping the sweat from my forehead, I said, "What a fright that was."
I can tell. All right. You don't need to stay awake anymore. You sleep. I'll keep watch.
No, there's no reason for my sleeping either. And besides, I won't be able to sleep at all.
You coward.
Then cowardly me and Satish sat leaning against the wall. Both of us stayed awake in silence. Neither of us spoke a word. Through the open window, I stared fixedly at a fragment of sky outside. Countless stars were twinkling. It felt as though they were snickering at our danger. We sat quietly, when suddenly the electric light went out with a snap. Together we exclaimed, "Who's there?" It seemed as though someone had switched off the main switch. Suddenly, a hideous laughter tore through the entire room. I have never heard anyone laugh like that in my life. The laughter seemed endless. What a monstrous sound! It felt as though someone were laughing themselves to death, right near the door. I shuddered violently. Satish quickly threw the beam of the torch toward the door. That only made things worse. It felt as though someone was sitting by the window, directly opposite the door, crying themselves to death in a broken, pleading voice. I could find no language for that weeping. Only a mournful tune wandered endlessly through the room. Then the lament moved no further than the bed itself. It was as though the bed had been soaked by that crying. That compassionate lament in an incomprehensible language stirred such an unknown sorrow in the mind that all our strength seemed to drain away gradually. It felt as though someone were rendering us unconscious with chloroform. Slowly, we were losing awareness. Satish had a little more courage. He cast the torch directly onto the bed and roared.
Who's there? Who is it?
Nothing was seen. No one answered. Suddenly, the bed began leaping wildly around the room.
felt as though countless human skeletons were dancing to their deaths around it. The clattering of their bones nearly tore my eardrums apart. Inside my chest, a strange pain began to throb violently. It felt as though my chest would shatter into pieces. Little by little, I lost consciousness. After that, I cannot clearly tell what happened or how. It felt as though I had traveled far away and arrived at a Chinese house. In a small room, deep in the night, a single oil lamp flickered faintly. On the floor lay a man in a dying condition. Seeing his sickly, pale face upon a torn mat filled me with pity. Suffering from illness, the poor man had wasted away into a skeleton. Beside him sat a woman, presumably his wife, her physique 4 times that of her husband. She sat dozing on a large stool. Beside her, I saw our bed. I was stunned. Who had carried it across 7 seas and 13 rivers to bring it here? Suddenly, the woman let out a huge, gaping yawn. Then, snapping her fingers loudly twice, she glanced around the room. I saw that her husband had already risen and was stealthily moving toward the bed. In an instant, like an enraged tigress, the woman dragged him forcefully down from the bed and flung him back onto his mat. She began roaring terribly, while the husband pleaded desperately, gesturing toward the bed. It seemed he wanted to lie upon it, but his wife would not allow him to, no matter what. Coughing violently in agitation, a gush of blood burst from his mouth. I shuddered. Then the man's head fell back onto the mat, and he did not rise again. His wife sat beside him and began wailing pitifully. When consciousness returned, I saw that the pale light of dawn had filled everything. I saw Satish's mother sprinkling water over my eyes and face.
Kargan, my child! Kargan!
Where am I?
In the downstairs room, my child.
Where is Satish?
Satish hasn't regained consciousness yet.
Later, I heard that around 4 in the morning, the 2 of us had apparently come staggering to the main door and collapsed on the ground, groaning. Seeing this state, Satish's mother ran out and began crying aloud. After a full 3 hours of care, we regained consciousness. The doctor came and said there was nothing to fear, just a sudden shock. Once consciousness returned, a little bromide would set everything right. When Satish regained consciousness, he too spoke in exactly the same strange manner as I had. I stared at everyone in astonishment. Satish's mother said,
First get rid of that cursed bed, my child.
An advertisement was placed to sell the bed. The very next afternoon, countless people filled the house. The bed was sold, finally, for 2,000 rupees. A Jew bought it and took it away. Well, at least there was some profit in the end. Had it not been sold, we might have had to give it away for nothing. Even now, at times, I think of that mysterious bed. Sometimes I wonder, who possesses it now? That restless soul, whom his formidable wife never allowed to lie alive upon the bed for fear of illness. Has he found peace today? Or does he still wander around that bed night after night, dying again and again, so that no one else
may ever lie upon it.
And so, the story comes to rest, not with answers, but with sorrow, because some hauntings are not born of evil, but of longing left unfinished. A bed meant for sleep, remembering a life that never found peace. Some souls do not seek revenge, they seek rest. You have been listening to Enigma Renderings, where classic voices return, where English is learned through tension and tone, and where silence remembers what words cannot. Until next time, dim the lights, still your thoughts, and listen carefully, because some sorrow never sleeps. Good night from Enigma Renderings.
Where stories whisper through shadows.